I need to have a strategy for the basics of what I'm going to do in those first couple of weeks and go 150% at it. Anything you can do to make the attention go onto that listing in those first 2 weeks.
Welcome everyone to the community and Core 90 training here with eXp Realty, the greatest brokerage on the planet. That's not just me saying it. That's Real Trends ranking us #1 4 years in a row. And so that's really awesome. Love it. Love the per agent productivity. And by the way, for anyone who hasn't felt it, the market's trending up. There's more transactions happening. So make sure you're a part of that flow, the economy, the deal flow that's happening out there. It's a big thing right now. Hopefully some of you are feeling it, right? If you're not, you're in the right place, because today we're going to be talking about how to optimize your business, the very best things that you can do. And this is a really, really exciting topic. And I think a lot of us need this. Ultimately, this is like when I take a listing, what is it that I can do at the very beginning, the first 2 weeks, to really get things up and running? And I think this is so valuable because we really need this information at the level of our organization. How many people have ever had a listing? You took the listing, and then at the beginning, it felt like, I feel like this is stalling out on me. Has anyone ever had that happen? Like immediately just hits the market and face plants like a fail army video, America's Funniest Home Videos, right? This thing's a skateboarder. It just smacks his face on the ground. And I love that we're covering this today because it's just so unbelievably important for all of us. And so today we're going to bring the always amazing Christine Kites up on stage to join us. And Christine knows this category inside and out. Dude, look at that background. Holy moly. Christine is rocking.
Do you love that?
I love that. It's so cool. Well, and for anyone who hasn't seen, Christine is totally introducing, by the way, our brand new design elements that came out this week, right, Christine?
That's right.
Over on the communitycenter.com. And if you guys haven't been over there, hold on, I'll do a quick screen share just because I know some of you probably haven't seen it yet.
The community center is looking awesome. I love everything he's doing. He's incorporated some of my favorite colors like pink in it, and it looks amazing. So I had to represent that in my background filter today. So the community, appreciate everybody being here. Thank you, Jeff, for getting us started here this morning.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited about this category, Christine, because you've talked to me about this, and ultimately you're very good at positioning your properties up front for success rather than having them languish on the market or get bound up with either bad pricing or bad positioning or bad communication. There's like all these categories, right, that lead to success. And so I'm excited to hear you talk on this. And for anyone who doesn't know, Christine is an absolute superstar agent, coach with eXp Realty. She's out in Oregon. I know we've got agents from around the country on here today, which is great, and watching on the replay. So Christine, I'm going to get out of your hair, but I'll probably interrupt because I can't help myself.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I would like you to help participate because as we go along, if there's any questions or thoughts that anybody wants to share, because I do want to make this interactive as far as, I'm going to be sharing some thoughts of sellers, listings, process, those kinds of things. However, everything's ever changing and there's new things that are always going along, some new things that people have been implementing that are relevant to today. And so if you raise your hand or put something in the chat, love to get you on to share that. Or also if there's a question. So
okay, perfect. That's awesome. I'm excited, man.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here, the community. Love to see all your guys' faces. So today I really wanted to focus on the first 2 weeks of generating the maximum exposure and offers on your listings, and wanted to just give you a quick recap of myself. I'm Christine Kites with the Broker Duo team. I have 2 buyer's agents on the team, Casey Malin, who's my sister and associate there, Giselle Moreno, who's just recently joined, who was actually a past client of mine's daughter, and she's also bilingual. So love to have her on the team. Excited about that. So also wanted to just know, I want to make sure I share this correctly because I have a pop-up here. Okay. that correct?
We can see
Okay.
who's in the room, years in business.
Perfect. There it is. So, just a quick, because I want to understand who's here and who I'm talking to with regards to listing experience. Um, who's in the room here who has you know, 0 to 5 years in the business, because it's a completely different set of working with sellers compared to if you're 5 to 10 years in the business, if you're 10 to 20, and so on. You're going to have a different level of experience with what we're doing and what is the marketing trend for 20 plus, 20 plus. Who else? 1 year, 10 years. Okay, two, 20. Okay, good. Um, because it really does matter. Oh, good. He put a little thing up there. It really does matter who we're talking to here. Because I'm not going to give a history lesson. However, there is a level of experience based on what the back to the basics look like in real estate right now. When everybody says we're going to go back to the basics and do um, um, what does back to the basics look like for who I'm talking to? Back to the basics, given the fact that I have been in the industry since the 90s, 94 specifically. And I joined when I was 19 years old, and it wasn't in Oregon, it was in Las Vegas, Nevada. And so I was an assistant at the time and very quickly became a licensed assistant. And then I was a buyer's agent. And I ended up through 3 teams through that starting in Nevada, coming here to Oregon in 2000. I've been here ever since. And I've been in commercial and residential for the past 24 years, 25 now here in Oregon. However, back to the basics has changed over time. So, basics then was DOS computer, fax machine, pagers, paper, a lot of different ways of implementing and what we're doing about communication on listings. And then obviously everybody knows it's progressed. And even in the last couple of years, 2 to 5 years, we've seen a dramatic change in what those basics look like on marketing and what are these are the standard things we're doing when we start a listing. And it's been even more and more in the preparing that home for sale than even it was 10 years ago. So back to the basics means something different for whatever year experience you have. The first thing I wanted to chat with you guys about is, to me, getting an understanding of, before we even get to I have a listing that is going to be going live, or I'm speaking with somebody about selling their home. Are you really knowing your market? Are you really taking the time to be really involved in knowing what's happening right now, what market we're in? Are we in the seller's market? Are we in a buyer's market? What's happening with interest rates? And how are you getting all of that kind of vibe of what's happening, your MLS stats, you're networking with agents, you're going on broker tour, you're visiting open houses, you're talking with your title rep. What's the buzz of what's going on? So you're inquiring around and you're staying in tune of, like, what does this market look like? Because that's the other element of what we're doing with back to the basics, is what was 3 years ago to what is right now is dramatically different. To putting a home on the market and multiple offers compared to right now and the time on market that we're seeing. So are you aware of what market we're in, so that you know how to consult correctly with your seller on what to expect in those first couple of weeks to those 30 days when you're on the market?
Hey, Christine, this has always felt to me like an area where some agents like you obviously excel. And then we have some agents who try to just win on like vibe and personality and being friendly. And I just feel like part of the service, like part of our fiduciary responsibility, is actually knowing how the market works, how real estate works, the terminology, these fundamentals. And it used to be kind of like you needed mentors and coaches and a lot of like training in order to be able to get that. But this is like so readily, uh, amazingly available now, right? Like you can just go get this information. ChatGPT could coach you for an hour right now, just in a conversation. Like, how did you learn these items along the way? Because I know like you're able to speak to a market. You can tell us if it's balanced or a seller's market, buyer's market, what's the absorption rate, all this kind of stuff that matters, by the way. Clients don't know that matters. It's our job to educate them. But like, how did you learn that along the way?
No, it's just like what you're saying, because the coaching element was a very standard monthly thing that we were in. So as far as coaching goes, Corcoran, KW Maps, I mean, I can name off lots of different coaching that I've paid for myself, for the team. And so we've learned along the way of what to do because we've been coached on how to do it. What are we supposed to be looking for? What are we supposed to be tracking? What are our daily tasks every week? And so that's what it comes down to is, are you keeping on top of your business? And there's so many different elements of the business to keep up on. And just taking one small piece of that, and that's just talking about sellers and the first couple of weeks on market. And that's all that I'm talking about here. Yet it is so much to discuss just in that specific area of real estate and the
I love
business
it.
of real estate.
And you know
So
what? It occurs to me, Christine, because it was like and I'm with you, by the way. I've also had to pay like, it feels like a trillion dollars to like
it was
coaches.
usually an average $1,000 a month just for coaching.
That's it,
So,
right? And then you'd go
mhm.
to events, and like by the time you're done with events and masterminds and coaching, you've spent like 40, 50 grand for the year just on knowledge, like on knowledge, guys. And here's the funny part. This is fairly recent, like the last couple few years, knowledge has gone from insanely valuable to just shy of free. This has just happened in our world. Knowledge is no longer, I don't want to say it's no longer a commodity, but it's not commoditized in the same way, right? We don't put price tags on knowledge in quite the same way that we used to. There's some types of knowledge that are that way, but I'm telling you, even that's going away. This idea that knowledge-based businesses we're going through the roof. How nobody saw that was going to be disrupted. I've just been saying this for years. So it's exciting though. I guess for those of you who are like, what the hell's Jeff talking about? Like, for those of you who are newer to the industry, you're not going to have to dump half your paycheck into getting knowledge. You can just show up here, you can show up other places. And by the way, when you run into terms today, maybe that Christine says or she approaches something a certain way, take a note, write it down, right? And then go to the internet and by the way, if it were me, plug into AI and have a conversation, understand this more deeply. Say, explain this to me like I'm a fifth grader, and so that you can really understand it. And this is where the world is. So just a quick aside, but I love that, Christine. Really, really cool stuff.
The accessibility of information and knowledge in comparison to what it was is just amazing. Yes, for the newer agents in the room that have only been in the last 0 to 5, it has just been tremendous about the accessibility to information and learning. You do not have to go pay and um, be like you were saying, Jeff, go and travel frequently. The traveling was a thing. So driving up to Washington for a seminar, driving over here, flying over there. It's just like he said, I was constantly traveling just to be in the room with agents to network and learn. That is now more like here. We're on Zoom. This is our learning base right now. We are able to get all of this information in the seat of wherever you are at the moment, whether in your home, in the car, or at your office, and you're learning right now, and it's costing you zero. It's just time. Time is money. However, it is just time. It's not time plus money, plus travel, plus this, plus that. So yes, Jeff, I agree with you on that. So I want to get into the pre-listing strategy with a seller, preparing the home and the seller for sale. So I'm going to skip a lot of what you've possibly already done, which is you've already figured out what your price point is. You've figured out the motivation of your seller. There's a lot of things that you've already learned. You've already been on your appointment with them. However, now you're actually getting into the preparing that home, and the seller for what's coming and why we're preparing the home for sale, because you know your market. So that's where all of this, what market we're in, so that you can come and prepare your seller. All of the things that I'm going to cover today is not all required. It's going to be pick what is needed and required for a seller and their circumstances and where their home currently is in the preparation stage. So I'm covering a lot of different elements that may or may not apply. You pick and choose what makes sense at each given moment. However, I wanted to give you some things about what you will likely be going through on that preparation stage. In order to get your best look right now in the market, it is all about, and that's the difference also about where we're at these days in comparison to what we were before, which is we are actually preparing these homes for sale in a way that we never did before. We are having a consultation with an interior designer stager coming through, or yourself. So again, back in the day, I was the interior designer stager. I was the photographer. I was everybody. And we have all of those separate people now doing those jobs. So now I'm not the one giving the bad news that they need to change the paint in their house, and they need to declutter, and they need to take the pictures off on the wall in the hallway. I don't like being that bad guy, because that's what they see that person as. However, when you bring in a professional who is a professional interior designer stager, they don't see them as the bad guy. And they see them as the professional, letting them know what their house needs to look like. And they now want to do what is being told to them to prepare that home for sale. And they're not upset with you about what needs to be done. However, you can be the guide on making sure that you're giving them all the resources to provide to get that home ready. So the consultation, the contractors, the landscaper, the cleaners, if the carpet needs to be cleaned, decluttering that needs to be happening. How are you showing up to help them get this house ready? So that's part of this whole process, is having a perfect home to market. So that's your job, to walk in there and get that home ready, with getting your seller on board to work with you on that home being in its best condition possible. I know all of you see sometimes the homes on the market that haven't been given that personal conversation, that extra help, because every room is full of stuff. The pictures don't represent what they really should. And we all know it's not likely going to be represented very well when the buyers come through that house. So it is up to you to take the time, energy, and effort, hopefully that you have time for this preparation stage. Sometimes the houses are really ready, that you don't have to do all of this extra stuff. It's been a house that's newer, or they've done all these updates. Their furniture looks wonderful, and all you have to do is come in and take pictures. That happens too. Those are the great ones. So as we're preparing the home for sale, this is where you get to work on getting everything started and lined up, though. You need to get signage ready. You need to get your photography planned. You need to get decide if you're doing video or not with them. Are you doing any Matterports? Are you doing any, are you doing virtual staging, or are you doing real staging? Or is the home going to be fine with the seller, and the interior designer has been able to tell them a few things they can adjust, go buy at Ross, whatever that looks like, to prepare that home. So after we're getting the seller ready and the home is starting to be in the works to be ready, we're going to be wanting our seller to sign paperwork so that we can start marketing that home for sale in a pre-coming soon fashion. So right now, how much time do we have? Do we have 2 weeks before it's going to be on? Do we have a month before it's going to be on? All of that also is what we're trying to prepare for, and what we can do for the marketing element in that first 2 weeks. Do you have a database that you can start blasting to, saying that you have something coming soon? Um, and do you have a checklist of what you are planning to do with this specific home in the coming soon phase for this house? Are you preparing the things that need to come to the house? A booty basket, the 3-ring binder that's going to be on the counter in the kitchen. You working with your title company to get the home book ready. Um, are you getting little feature sheets that are going to go around the house that are going to say certain things that are going on throughout the house? All of these different things mean everything for when we're actually live and bringing people walking through the house.
Hey, Christine. I just saw that Liz has her hand up. Looks like she's got a question.
Hi, Liz.
Hey, happy to
Hi.
see you. Thanks for the
Yeah.
great content. Is there an echo on your end?
Teeny bit, but go ahead. I think it's going to
Okay.
be fine.
So what do you put in your listing book? And then also, how have you built your database for email and where do you get those contacts from?
Okay. Your home book can have a variety of information. The first thing that you can do, which is super easy, which is reach out to the title representative that you're working with. When you get your property profile on the home before you're listing the house, you ask for a home book. They can either print it off and have the sheets ready for you, or you can print it off, but they'll be happy to deliver them. Then what I do is I have one of those see-through binders at the first one. I get them on Amazon and I get them in bulk. And they're a really nice, like leather kind of feeling binder. And it has the see-through page, the front one. So I prepare a nice this home, the address and the home book have something pretty on there. And then in the 3-ring binder, I have all of those pages from the home book. The home book from the title company provides all the property information, the local demographics as far as schools, what's around, all of this stuff that's just already there. A lot of great information that if buyers were interested in wanting to know more about what's local and what's near this home is going to be in that home book. The other things that can be in there is the seller property disclosure statement. You make sure you have like a map of any sort, any drawings as far as the floor plan and those kinds of things in there. Any feature sheets that you want to specifically have highlighted because you want to say all the different features about the home or any of the updates that are going on in the house. So that's answering your first question. The second one would be the database. Of course, as you know, I've already mentioned I've been in the business a little while, so I have a database that's been built up. That database has a combination of clients, friends, family. It's a huge database, but a lot of it has been based over time. Again, like Jeff and I had mentioned, there's a different way of how we are working on attracting and getting new clients than what it looks like before. Before, there was a lot of different programs. KB Core is one of them, but it was actually called Conversion, I believe, at the time. Sync and Boomtown and all of these different other platforms that I have been a part of that I paid monthly for, and I had leads that would stream in. So I have a database full of that, along with anyone I've met at open houses, past clients, current clients, a database. And then the database itself is what are you using? KV Core is a free one to use. That's part of the EXP platform of what they offer. And there's lots of them out there. It just depends upon what you want them to do and how you want to communicate with your database. Usually when you have a database and a platform that you're using, it's easy to send out an email blast to them because you've also tagged them in your database in a way that you say, I'm going to send this information off to these people in my database. Does that help, Liz?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to be moving on to all of that was worked on, and now we are working on the coming soon strategy. Sellers are working on the house. We know what's going on. We know the timeline, and we know that it's coming soon. Paperwork is done. Now, when we do that paperwork, the idea here is to get them to sign the paperwork so that we could put it in the preview member only. In the WVMLS, that's what it's called. I know that we have other MLS systems and everyone's in different states. There's RMLS and WVMLS are the two that I'm connected to here. So this one's preview, other ones are called coming soon, whatever they are called in your system. It allows you to put information in about that listing. This is one of those things where when I said before about preparing your seller with the market and what's going on, your CMA and all those things you're doing, you've also been looking in to see what's coming soon. So you know if there's anything coming soon that isn't live on the market right now. And you want to be one of those listings in the MLS. Now, being in preview status is a benefit to as a buyer's agent, and it's a benefit to a listing agent. As a buyer's agent, looking at those statuses, that's when the listing agent is receiving phone calls with, hey, I see that one is going to be ready on Sunday or Friday, or I see it's coming. Can you tell me more about it? Can I be the first one in? Do you doing an open house? A lot of potential phone calls and activity may come up with that coming soon status. This is part of the strategy in getting the home sold as quickly as possible in our current market. In our current market, my goal is to see my listing off market, the goal in 3 to 5 days on market. The larger goal, 2 weeks on market. Anything beyond that, I'm not really excited about. So my personal goal is lots of strategy to get all the activity going on my listing so that it is under contract within the first couple of weeks. The current market that we're in right now, I feel is we either see listings that go off market timely, or we see listings in there, as you guys know, that are staying on the market 30, 60, 90, 155 days. And with that, I'm seeing price reduction, price reduction, price reduction in order to finally get under contract. That's not my goal. My goal is to strategize the price, to get all the activity going on in the first week that it's on market and even before it's live, to get the activity and the interest and the excitement that I see at least 2 or more buyers interested in this home that I have coming soon. So it's going in. I see you're jumping in there. Jeff, did you have something?
I just love that. Well, one of the things that occurs to me is that you have to nail pricing at least a little bit. And I'll say it this way, because I was like really firm there and then I backed off, but you have to be in the right range of pricing. You can't be outside reality. And I see agents right now, and I know it because I watch the markets, I see what's moving out there, and then I see what's being posted. And a lot of the bind up in inventory is caused, and I'm just going to call this what it is. Don't lie to people, guys, and tell them that their house is worth something that it's not worth just so that you can get a listing. By the way, getting a listing, quote unquote, that will never sell is a horrible waste of time and money for you. Horrible.
It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for you in your next client. Right. To show that you've had something that sat on market very long. It is very important to have the right conversation about pricing with your seller to make sure you're both on the same page about the strategy that you have for them, and having all of these things lined up and planned in a way to go in there and have them understand the strategy of price. And in the first 2 weeks, the motivation of your seller is everything of why you would even be pricing the way you are. Of course, we all have seen the seller who says, well, I just want to try. I just want to try this at this price to see if I can get it. And, we all have to work with our sellers. It's not going to be a guarantee every time that you're going to talk them down off that ledge. However, the idea and goal is that you can have a real good conversation with data and also a strategic plan of being on market with the idea that you're going to see more than one buyer right now in our market that's interested in making an offer on their home. And as long as that lines up with their goal of being off market timely, that's the other element here, is that I'm gauging my strategy based on my seller saying, I don't want to be on market very long, and I want you to sell it immediately for the highest price. That's where I'm gauging all of my marketing plans with my sellers. And that's how I'm coming at them to make sure that they want to be on the same page with me. And as long as we're both seeing and hearing the same thing, and they're nodding along with me and saying, yes, that's what we want to see, and that sounds great, then wonderful. Then that's the plan. Okay, so then with that plan, our price is likely going to be here. Okay, yes, that makes sense. Okay, great. So you just want to make sure you're both on the same page with the plan and the process. In the coming soon strategy, we're generating all of this buzz, signs in the yard. We've got a coming soon writer. We have flyers now because we've taken just a few photos of this house in the coming soon fashion. We've been able to snapshot the exterior, maybe a backyard picture. Maybe it's like move everything out of the way in the living room, take a quick shot, move everything back. We know how this goes. A kitchen is just like move everything off the counter. I just want one quick picture. The idea here is to get flyers going so you can walk the neighborhood. If you have a website that allows you to put your own website links within it, which I do, it allows you to put a coming soon in there and start marketing it that way. So when you're looking at doing email blasts, social media blasts, all of these different things, it also allows you to have its own listing online already, because in the MLS, I do know with WVMLS, we can email these now out to people, but you can't search them. So it's not automatically feeding to anyone. Agents literally have to go in there and see it to send it, or a client has to drive by that coming soon sign and call about it unless they're seeing it somewhere else. So you have to do all these different elements. So I like to walk the neighborhood. I like to tell the neighborhood, this is coming soon. It's an easy conversation with everybody there. It's not the only time I'm going to walk this neighborhood and tell them about it. And they love to see their neighbor. They know their neighbor. So you tell them about it. Hey, I know you've seen the sign in the yard down the road. Your neighbor, they're coming soon here. And I just want to start letting everyone know in case you know somebody you want to live near you or live in the area, or somebody who loves this area, let them know it's coming soon. Answer questions. The idea with that is to start the conversation and start the buzz. You can, if you have time, this is where how much time do you have before we're going live, which is mailing into the subdivision or around the neighborhood of this house. That may not be available right away for a coming soon strategy, maybe the open house strategy, because we don't have time to get something out in time for a coming soon. Joanne, I see your hands up.
Hi, thanks. So, when you're knocking on doors, because I don't generally do this as a practice, how many people answer and what do you do if they don't answer? Because I know that people mostly go in through their garage, they open their garage door and they go in. So if you put something on the front door, they may not see it, but do you leave something, or what do you do when you're walking and you're doing 20 doors and only 2 people answer?
Yeah, no problem. So first things first, as I'm walking up, I'm noticing whether or not there's any type of ring device or anything like that that's going to notice that I'm at the door. I'm looking for any signage that says no soliciting. If it says no soliciting, I'm not going to knock. It's one of those things where it's almost like being on the do not call list. I'm just being very careful about that. Some people are very clear about the no soliciting. Sometimes it's more than just no soliciting. It says additional language about no soliciting. And so I don't want to upset anybody. So if somebody is sometimes in the right weather, people are outside in their neighborhood. So me walking around that neighborhood, they see me coming before I'm even at the door. And it's just like, hey, guess what? I'm sure, that kind of thing. And we're talking before I've even entered. Knocking on the door, or if I see a ring, if no one, I usually can tell somebody's not home. So if I do see the ring device and I've approached their door, I'm not going to walk away without saying something. I usually say, hi, this is Christine.Kites. I'm at eXp Realty. I've got this flyer here. I was just going to leave it for you. The house down the road, it's coming soon, or it's the open house. And I'm just going to leave this on your doorstep, or I'm going to leave this on the bench right here. Just wanted to let you know, hope I see you. Let me know if you have any questions.
Awesome.
And I do that if there's a ring device or some type of a device there. And if they're not home, they don't answer, I knock. It's really, it doesn't make any sense to necessarily leave a flyer in this weather, that kind of a thing, unless you have a way that you're wrapping it around and putting it on the doorknob. But even I know that I don't personally like it on my doorknobs. And yes, everybody usually goes through their driveway. It's really deciding as you walk up to that house what you're doing.
Okay.
It's a variety of different options.
In general, what days and times do you go to increase your chances? What's your general practice?
So for the open house, we usually choose the day or before or more, because we do Saturday and Sunday open houses. So if it's a Sunday only open house, then we're doing a walk-in Saturday. And we are trying to get there during the day, because that's usually when people are home. So we would usually start off in the earlier part of the morning, but not too early, if possible. And then, of course, weather permitting.
And then what about coming soons? How do you generally do the coming soons? What day and time?
Right. And so that's also just based on what kind of time do we have and when are we coming soon. So I do have one that I'm working on right now, and the fact that I'm going to have enough time to walk a neighborhood, I'm probably going to pick 2 times to walk that neighborhood, simply because I don't know if I'm going to get people in the morning or in the afternoon, because I'm not familiar with that neighborhood enough. But I'll try the afternoon first, because that's usually when you're going to have people home from school or getting home from school, buses are dropping off. Those kinds of things, the activity is happening at that time.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. So in preparing the home for sale in this coming soon phase, again, what I mean by back to the basics is it used to be that one of our preparations for going on market for clients was timing when we were going live and when we needed pictures and information on a house, because we were going into a monthly publication, and that was part of the marketing. Right now, we have marketing that's at our fingertips, live, online. We are not waiting for a publication anymore. So that's different than what it used to be. Let's see here, social media. So this is when you're also taking some quick little snippets. You're doing your own quick little snippets, video, all those kinds of things, and you're going to generate the buzz on any of your social media platforms. It's coming soon and showing it here or there. And it's just the idea that you're just trying to get this going and the buzz going. If you've got a client who is savvy with their social media, the other option here would be to give them something for them to share. That's an excellent way to get more attraction to your listing, because they want to support their friend and family member. And then they might share it along. So to get as much reach as you can in our social media is not just through yourself, but also through your client. So wanted to chat now about moving forward to our first week generally on live. We have the coming soon strategy, but we also here in the area, my team does a broker tour strategy. The WVMLS here locally in my area has a tour on Wednesdays religiously. That's been going on for years. So every Wednesday I can have a property on tour, and it doesn't have to just be a new listing. It can be a refreshed listing. It could be a price reduction, anything like that. As long as you want it on tour and you put it on tour, it goes on tour. The idea with tour, though, is that you actually want to attract the agents to your tour. And used to be that I would regularly see anywhere from 15 to 25 agents visit a tour on Wednesdays. These days, I'm lucky to see 3 to 5. I think it's very important for all of us to be out there looking at our inventory, and usually it is a fresh listing that's on tour on a Wednesday, and it's great for you to not have to make an appointment, You just go and you tour these properties, you give some feedback, and you get to know what's happening in the market, price point wise, how the preparation looks on the home, anything updates that are going on. You just get to see what's happening with the market based on what's on tour. Sometimes you have tour and there's 6 properties on there, and sometimes it's on tour and you see 15 properties on there or more. However, if you are going to do a tour for your home, try to do a local one with your MLS as far as something they might already have set up. And if you don't have that ability, do your own tour. You can do one with like a twilight or during the day. But I have seen agents who market specifically to agents that would make sense based on the price point of your home. And you can get that database from the MLS. You can get the database from your title people. You can use systems like Zipflyer and other ones that are out there that will literally email all to every agent in certain MLSs. Or you can be more specific to certain agents that you want to attract to this home so they know it's on the market, because you know they work a lot with this type of home and or price range. So in doing that, you would, I have a broker tour sign writer for the actual sign. So the day and time that I'm doing it, that's on the sign. I will call agents specifically, as I mentioned, that I've identified for this tour. I'll do an exclusive invitation, email and phone call, maybe even by text. And then when you're doing these tours, you can take it a step above to get those agents to walk through the door, which is treats, coffee, cocoa, lunch. You can do the lunch yourself. You can cater it. I've done tons of lunches myself. I've done breakfast. I've done lunch. I've done catered. I've done just treats. And then the raffle drawing. So sometimes when you have a home that may be in an outside area where it's very difficult to get agents out to it to see it, it's a pretty large raffle. Sometimes it's a simple raffle, a $25 local card of some sort that you want to do, some wine with some treats, a basket of some sort. And the idea with that is that they're providing feedback when they're there. So this is for you and the seller. With the feedback form that I have, it's going to be one specific to agents and then one specific to clients when they're going through an open house. The one that's coming through from the agents, I want to know what they think about the house in general. You know, the location, the condition, the price, any comments that they have. What did they love about it? What did they least like about it? All of this is just my opportunity to share with my seller. You've done everything you needed to do, but that one thing that we talked about, see, everybody is seeing it, or yep, we knew that this was going to be an issue, and yes, everybody sees it, or price range seems about right where we're at. Or maybe the conversation was taken with your client, but they didn't want to go with the price point that you were feeling was the right one. And somebody's coming in, giving you that feedback saying, this is realistically where I see this happening. And yes, I think they're going to ask for closing costs. These forms are very helpful for you to use to consult with your client further. The broker tour is a helpful way to, one, get the agents out there to see your inventory, hopefully that they have a buyer and they're going to be out wanting to show it, or that it's helping you guide your client with any additional steps they need to do with their home, even though you've prepared this home for sale and try to price it right. So then the other thing in my first 2 weeks, again, is when I mean 2 weeks, I'm talking about prior to being live to being live. And that's what I mean by my first 2 to 3 weeks. Marketing is happening before we're live. The buzz that I'm creating, the coming soon that I'm creating, and then I'm preparing for that broker tour and the open houses. And doing that, I am mailing around, I'm walking around, I'm emailing, it's social media. The idea here is to create the buzz everybody knows. So now we're live, and the idea with it is the first weekend, I'm going to try to get an open house on Saturday and Sunday for that house. I specifically do a specific time zone myself. I've been doing this a long time to know before 1 o'clock, people are busy with lunch, breakfast, whatever they're doing, life, all of that. 1 o'clock is when everybody in my open house was generally showing up. I would do 12 to 4 open houses, and everybody would start showing up about 1. Then they would last start showing up probably around 3. Anything after 3 were my looky-loos. They were the ones that, oh, I just happened to see that sign, and so we just thought we would come in. We saw an open house. This, we just wanted to walk through. They're not my serious buyers. They're not buying right now. I want to be intentional with my seller for the fact that if it's not a vacant home, for one, that I've had them leave the house, possibly with their animals. And I want to be very purposeful in the time that I'm doing the open house, and I'm getting the traffic of real potential clients in the market right now. So I do 1 to 3. Usually with that, I have people ready to walk in that door at 1 o'clock. So at 12:30, you should be at your open house, setting up and having everything ready so that before 1 o'clock even comes, you're able to open that door, because the idea here is that buyers are walking through the door right at 1 o'clock and you're ready for them. In doing that, I'm also setting out signs. We always usually set out those signs the day of the open house. I actually have been doing a lot more of signage on the day before and in the morning is when I'm actually placing signs. So that way, for one, with the weather, I'm not out there looking my best while I'm out trying to put a sign at a corner while rain's pouring on me and I'm trying to get to my open house. The other part of that is we're letting everybody know sooner than later that an open house is happening, and they're able to either follow those signs to realize that on the top of my sign now says Sunday 1 to 3, or Saturday and Sunday 1 to 3, or Saturday 1 to 3, and they're going, oh, it opens at 1 o'clock today. We'll be back. So I get those arrow signs out there. I just saw a cute little tip on follow me to your dream home signs to additionally add into those arrow signs that I'm probably gonna get on board with. I think those are super cute. So I added that in here. I don't know if anybody has any fun signage that they do, but that one sounded really cute. The other part of this open house is that we want it to be one where buyers show up. The idea with open houses is it's going to tell me what our market is doing based on the traffic in my open house. So if nobody shows up, it's telling me, when maybe people had been showing up before, that there's been a market shift. And that's actually happened before, where I had open houses, people through. And then I had an open house and nobody was showing up that weekend. Called around to all the agents that had open houses. Anybody come through yours? Anybody come through yours? Anybody come through yours? Nope. Okay. This is interesting. Something's happening. Sometimes market shifts happen right when they're happening, and they're happening. You felt the gut, and then you have to realize, why is it happening? Again, I've been doing this quite some time, so there's been reasons why there's been market shifts. And I've been in sellers markets and buyers markets. When I've seen some of those sellers markets, I've seen as much as 30 to 40 people walking through an open house at one time. When it's a little bit less on the activity and it's more of a buyer's market, I've seen more of 0 to 5. So it really depends upon what market you're in. So all of these actions that you're doing, the goal is to drive any buyer that's currently looking to show up to your open house. And obviously we also have the new buyer broker agreement thing that's going around. And I'm starting to see more buyers showing up to the open houses now than they were even before. And when they walk in, some are working with agents and some aren't. Now, in getting these open houses scheduled, there's lots of different options of how you can hold your open house. You can get a lender partner involved and get some flyers going with them. You can have them showing up and being present with you. Again, you could be walking the neighborhood ahead of time to say, hey, I know you saw me at the coming soon. Guess what? We've got an open house coming. Here it is. Tell all your friends about it. See you then. Hope to see you if you want to come through. If I haven't walked the neighborhood for the coming soon because that wasn't an option and I'm walking around for that open house, I may say something more like, your neighbor wanted me to stop by and let you know their home is on the market and they're having an open house this weekend. And that's my way of being more friendly to them, of saying, hey, did you want to come to this open house, or did you want to sell your home, or anything like that? It's very more friendly to say, hey, you saw your neighbor had their home, the sign in the yard. Oh, yep, they're doing an open house this weekend. They wanted me to come around and invite you in case you knew somebody who might want to move into the area. And I usually get great conversation from that. People are very friendly about it. The last couple that I went through, this lady had a boot on her foot and she's like, I'm not walking over there to that open house. Thank you for coming by and showing me, telling me about it. Again, you do the email blast, you do the social media stuff. However, there's some extra things you could be doing with it, which is creating it as an event. For specific homes, you may want to make this more event style. Take advantage of the fact that you have a home on the market and you want to get as much traffic in there as you can. So you get a tent out in the driveway. You have tables out there. You have extra manpower with you, whether it's your daughter, your son, your sister, your brother, another agent, a lender partner, a title person. Get people out there with you to help you with the event, and manpower it, and offer some treats, a drawing, anything that's going on there. I've seen people who have done a hot dog station. I've seen people who have had a taco truck. I've seen ice cream. I've seen lots of different options there to try to drive the traffic and interest into making this more of an event style and to get the traffic through, but just make sure you have enough manpower for it. And then, of course, you have your sign-in when they come in, either in the house or outside. I'm personally using my iPad that has a program on it that allows me to have people sign in, kind of like you do nowadays when you walk in and maybe get your hair done, or you go into certain places and their iPad is out and it's like, sign in here, and you put your name and your information and you click next. I actually have that as my sign in, and I have sign in sheets options, or I have the sign in on my iPad. When they see the iPad and it's sitting up there and shows them sign in here with a name, first, last name, I've seen people just automatically walk up to it and start typing before I even tell them they need to sign in. So it's all about how you're presenting the plan of sign in to this open house. We need to know who you are. It's not always about getting their contact information. They may be working with an agent. It's the idea that you're sharing with your seller how many people came through. Was it a neighbor? Was it a buyer working with an agent? Was it somebody that you didn't know, that when you don't know if they're capable of purchasing a home that came through? But when you have them walk up, you're learning this information as they're signing in. And again, when you're learning about if they're working with an agent, this is your listing and you want it sold. So if they say, oh yeah, I'm working with Mary, oh, that's wonderful. Usually when I'm in the open house, I have the opportunity to text her right away. And I'm saying, hey, your client's here looking at this open house. A lot of people are coming through here. Let me know if she likes it or not. Again, the idea here is that you want to create the buzz and you want to create and generate offers on this home, and you want to know where they're coming from. So the more that you know of what agents are out there working with the clients, you can follow back up with those agents and say, hey, how did Mary like the house? Are they going to be writing an offer or aren't they writing an offer? Oh, no, they really liked it, but they're still looking. Or so you know this feedback, you know if it's a potential. Again, sending this information off to your clients so that they can share the open house plan. You can create an event on Facebook. You can go live on Facebook while you're there. So there's the marketing before, the marketing of, and then of course there's the after the open houses over, where you're going to be following up with people who have come through. Again, those agents who might be representing some clients, those kinds of things. I also put a few things in here about engaging your guests while they're present. Some of my lines that I use during the conversations when buyers are coming through my open house. One of my favorites is, thanks for coming in, and what brought you here today? That helps me understand why they're there. With what brought you in here today, I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know if they're going to say, well, my son's looking for a house, or, well, I'm probably going to sell my home, or, well, I just started looking, or I don't know. However, just leaving it that open to what brought you in here today, I don't have to assume why they're here. And I get more information that I can then utilize that information for my next question or conversational piece based on how they answer that question. If you're not doing an event, I always encourage to have at least coffee or a cocoa bar at your open house. It's a great way to have the conversation of how do you take your coffee and walk them right on into getting a coffee and handing it to them, and making them walk around the house with a mug and not a takeaway. There they can take it with them type, but a mug that they have to go walk the house and come back to you and give it back to you for an opportunity for more conversation. And then, of course, before we start this tour, sign in right here. So if you have manpower at your open house and somebody's taking the sign-in plan of managing the door, and you're making sure to walk around with somebody through the house because it's an occupied home, and you want to make sure that you're following them through that house, then you let them know that's what's happening. You're going to tour the house with them. And as you're going through, you want to show, well, I wanted to show you one of the standout features of this home, and you point it out, and can you imagine? And you start those conversations. Also, going back to what brought you in here today, conversation was, well, it had a really large yard, or it had this. If they specifically point out a feature of the house that they really were interested in seeing, that's the first thing you want to go show them when they walk through. Oh, that's wonderful. Let's go take a look at it. Head on right to that backyard because they wanted to see the backyard, or they wanted to see something about the house. But your job there is to connect, show off that home and the features, and to make a relationship with that person. Whether they're working with an agent or not, you need to be seen as a great agent in the area. Because if it ends up being the agent you're going to work with on the other end, the client that's working with that agent is going to go back and say, oh, wow, that Christine, she was just so nice and friendly. Don't you think that maybe that might be a little bit of how they might be making that offer now on that house, that they may feel, oh, well, I don't want to, or I want to make sure I make a good offer. All of these things mean something in the industry of what we're doing here. What were you looking forward to seeing? Another great line that I love when I realize that somebody is in there and they're not working with an agent, I like to use the, are you currently investing in your home or renting? It's a great tagline to say instead of, do you own a home or do you need to sell to buy? Are you currently investing in your home? It's just a different way of talking about, yes, I'm investing in my home, or you rent. And with that conversation, you get to learn more of whether or not they need to sell to buy with that. Because if they have an idea of, oh yes, I have a home, and that next conversation could be, oh, what do you think it might sell for? Or what do you think the value of is it at right now? And with that would be, oh, it's probably around 550. And how did you come up with that price? Is also one that I use during that conversation. And then, are you familiar with the neighborhood or the homeowners association? I've had people walking in. I hand them the flyer. They're not familiar with Benton Woods. They're not familiar with whatever homeowners association this is. So they have no idea how much it is. They don't know what it comes with. It gives me an opportunity to be of value and information to get more conversation going, and also the leading into walking around, having more conversation, keep going through. By the time I'm done and walking back, the idea with that is I've now connected in a way that if they're not working with an agent, I've already found my way in to talk about seeing homes with them, setting up a home search for them. Have they seen the pre-listing homes that are for sale right now that are not on the market yet? Just like this home was coming soon before it went live. I also get to share how much activity might be going on this house, and maybe they are interested in it, and maybe there's an intention for them to need to talk sooner than later about making an offer on it. I have had buyers walk in at the last minute at 3 o'clock with their kids saying, oh, we were hoping to catch it right before the end. We wanted to see this house. And by the time I'm done chatting with them, and the lender partner I had present, who was also very helpful to talk to learn, not only they were interested in buying, they haven't talked with a lender, and they're interested in this house today. That has happened in the last 3 months. So these open houses to me are important. You can get activity for yourself and for the seller and for the other agents on these open houses. So I don't know what your taglines are for your open houses. If you guys have anything in the chat that you've shared, I haven't been following it. Any special ones that you like to say in your open houses that work well for you, but please share them if you do have them. After the open house, once I'm finished up and I'm cleaning up and I'm getting out of there, I usually am leaving something for the seller. If I've gotten treats, if I had some things there, I leave it with a thank you note. I have a report that I actually already have printed that I am going to put all the information on. I'm going to handwrite that information, screenshot it, and send a text off to my client, and possibly have a phone conversation with them. And that report's generally going to let them know how many people came through, what the overall feedback was of it. Did it seem like there were anybody that came through that was interested in the home? Am I following up with agents? All of those types of things. They're anticipating, waiting for this feedback the minute they know that's ending at 3 o'clock. And sometimes I'm getting texts beforehand. How's it going? How's it going? How's it going? And then at 3 o'clock when it's ended, they're ready to be like, how'd it go? How'd it go? Sometimes I have those anxious sellers. So the more prepared you are for this anxious seller, or just that you don't have an anxious seller and you're just doing this awesome job for them, and they're like, wow, this is just like, they're so on top of it. Now I've already gotten feedback before I even asked for feedback. And then, of course, you follow up with attendees. I've gotten some really good feedback from other agents and myself that if you do a video text to the attendees right after the open house, I've heard lots of great things about people who have said, wow, I can't believe they took the time to send me that. And turned around and even worked with that agent because of that text, or shared with another agent about how wonderful it was. So there's all different ways to follow up. You need to be prepared to do it though. So have this as a plan. Reach out to those agents whose clients attended. And the other thing you might want to do is post something. Miss this open house today? No problem. Give me a call and I can do a private tour of this home with you. You could take the opportunity to do more social media with this right afterwards. Let me see where I'm at. Okay. So went over a lot. Anybody got questions or thoughts or shares?
Well, I have to say it's super exciting stuff because these concepts are classically missed by so many agents, right? And hopefully no one on here, but I will say, if you guys are like me, I learned like 4 things today where I'm like, yeah, I never did that and I didn't do it that way. And that's why I didn't get that result, right? And results just come from doing the right thing. So many times we think if I had the right one secret ingredient, then I'd have all the success. But here's what's funny is you need all the ingredients to bake a cake. Right? All of this stuff stacked together is part of why Christine is so successful. So I do see some hands up here. I see Ray Coburn with his hand up. What's up, Ray? How
Hey,
you doing?
Ray.
Hey, so one thing I just wanted to kind of point out that kind of helps me. Within 30 days, I had 47,000 views. That was organic. To just my own marketing for, offering services for listing and working with buyers. So not specifically on selling properties, but just alone, like on my properties, I got like 106,000 views through organic marketing. And really what that comes down to, what I do and what I find works is when I'm at the house, while I'm taking photos of the home, not to list on the RMLS because we can't do our self-promotions, but on other platforms like Facebook or our own personal accounts, I usually get in front of the camera and show that, I'm at the house. So that way, if a potential buyer's in the area that's interested in looking at the house, it kind of represents to them that, hey, I'm available. I can be here just like I am now. And I have no problem in doing it rather than just kind of taking pictures of a home, never really seeing me, never really connecting me to the house. And just making it seem like it's kind of like a distant transaction rather than me being, involved in it. The other thing is like hashtags and at tags too, targeting certain communities where, maybe get cash for houses or, go into the wholesale areas and get the people that would be buying the wholesale deals to actually buy a legitimate deal. So stuff like that kind of helps as well too.
I love that, Ray. Yeah, people love to see you. And as much as that's kind of what I'm also saying about like back to the basics, indifferent to what was and what is now. What is now is it's an ever-changing that's going on. However, it's AI, it's video, it's being present. People want to see us live and on things. So those live streams or like you were saying, Ray, a video of you going through the house, standing at the house, and sharing that all over your social media. I've seen a lot of agents doing that, and I see tons. Like I look to see how many views, I look to see how many comments, and there's always some types of questions or that looks great or I can't wait or something that's going on with it. So we definitely the social media element of being more video conscious of those listings as you're going through and getting them online. And yes, Ray, with that extra site, because like you were saying with RMLS, as I was mentioning earlier, I do have a site that allows me to put a coming soon, allows me to start marketing that specific property out there on its own site before it goes into MLS. That's great. Any other hands?
I was about to say, does anyone else have questions? You have this amazing opportunity with a top listing agent today who, by the way, Christine, super appreciate that you're giving away the playbook to success here. And for anybody who doesn't know, Christine's one of the top producers in the company. So this is a big deal to be able to peel back the cover and say what's underneath. So any other questions from people who are here on the live today?
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Jeff. And just everybody knows, I mean, this is a constantly learning and growing process. The basics keep changing, right? So my basics were a mailer before. Now it's taking the photos and going coming soon and putting coming soon sign, and it's social media and it's all these other things. These basics are ever changing. And so I'm keeping up with all of those. And if there's something could change next week, a new something that shows up for all of us to do. So staying in front of just knowing what are the basics and what is required for our listings to get the most attention and traction from agents and buyers is what's important in constantly learning and growing and making sure you're on top of all of those things. I don't think I have all of them. I don't feel I do. However, I know my basics right now. I know what I'm going to talk with my client about getting to, and what type of market that we're in, and how long I want to see that house on the market. If we're in a market where it's an average of all homes to be 30, 60, 90 days on market, which I've been in those markets before, then it's a different strategy. But if we have a strategy right now that says in our first 2 weeks, we should be under contract, and if we're not, and we're 2 weeks on, everybody's wondering what's wrong with the house. Well, I need to have a strategy for the basics of what I'm going to do in those first couple of weeks and go 150% at it. Anything you can do to make the attention go onto that listing in those first 2 weeks, the pre and first live week.
I love it. Well, and really quickly, also, just because we've got a time and shameless plug here, if you guys would go online. Here's Christine. Go ahead and find her on Facebook. And this is the broker duo. And you guys should be on there. You should be liking these groups who come on to present for you and give you additional information. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that's a big opportunity to connect with somebody who's at the top of the industry, who's been doing this for decades, and really is a leader, and can help you. Frankly, that's what we're all here for, right? Is helping each other to understand what really works in this industry. And there's a lot of fluff, and there's a lot of people trying to sell you shit all the time, right? Oh, well, if you just buy this course, then you'll make $5 trillion this year, and then you could no. Listen, you need some basics, you need some fundamentals, and then you need the discipline to do this stuff. Did anybody like me? I got a little overwhelmed today at times, Christine, looking at your process, where I'm like, there's so much. But what's interesting about this is I find, one of my early coaches, somebody that I think you and I both know, Christine, said you either go an inch deep and a mile wide, or an inch wide and a mile deep. And the reality for me, that's probably a rip from Jim Rohn or somebody anyway, but the truth is, I see you going a mile deep and an inch wide. You're like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go absolute bonker bananas for 2 weeks, and I'm going to get this thing moving on the market. Because what's the worst case scenario? You generate, like 2-3 buyer clients? That's the worst case scenario, and the house doesn't sell. This is what you guys forget, is like a listing is a magnet for buyers. And if you're not using it as such, which is really what Christine's doing here, it's all, listen, the heart should be, I'm trying to get this sold for my client. That's your job. That's your fiduciary responsibility. But the ancillary whoopsie side effect is you might get 3, 4, 5 buyers off one listing, and 1 or 2 of them might buy. My goal was always to use a listing to double the business, right? I think that's true for you too.
You've definitely touched on that. And the one thing that you have to remember here is that I'm sure there's some agents on here where you're like, well, I don't have a listing right now. And so you don't have an open house opportunity or any of these walking the neighborhood or any of these things that I've talked about. However, I have also had my team seek out opportunities with other listings that are in the marketplace. There's a lot of agents out there that really don't intend to do open houses, or aren't doing these types of steps. If you get an opportunity to a home that's listed that you can do an open house on, these are the kinds of things that you could take advantage of in walking around and creating that buzz and putting that open sign rider on there. And doing all the social media with it, that you're hosting this open house, and communicate really well with the listing agent, where they're like, I'd love you to do all my open houses so I don't ever have to do them again. And the idea then with that is you do an excellent job with every open house that you're at, because the idea is that you're continuing to build rapport with all of the agents that are out there who we're working with all the time, and that you're also finding the opportunity at that open house. That's what you're doing.
I love that.
At these open houses, it has been an average of the open houses I've done since the beginning of the year, 1 buyer per open house. As long as we have traffic, there's been at least one buyer per open house that has not been working with an agent, and or with my lender partner there, they have been able to pick up a client. I actually have had buyers walk through saying, yes, I'm working with an agent and I'm seeing property, but I'm not qualified yet. I've actually heard that. And automatically it's like, well, what should you need to know about that lending process, and let's start that conversation. And my lender partner there is then to, try to get that because that's what they're there for, is also to try to get some business. So
I love it. This
mhm.
is, I hear this. And one interesting bit is, Christine was talking earlier about, like, I'll just use door knocking as an example. Okay. And by the way, for anybody who's on here on the live, Tyler just said, if anybody wants to do an open house for him this weekend, I think he was joking, but take him up on it anyway. Let's twist his arm. And so, I mean, honestly, if you got a listing, get it out there, buddy. But here's the thing. Door knocking. I'm just going to use this as an example, Christine, because it aligns so well. And people are like, door knocking doesn't work. Door knocking's hard, guys. It is hard. It's cardio, which, by the way, raise your hand if you don't need cardio. But also, here's the funny part. It's about, like, if you knock 200 doors, about 40 of them, right, about 20% of them will actually open. Meaning mostly it's 160 doors where nobody answers. So fine, leave a flyer, right? My preference was always bright pink or neon yellow. So when you're driving down the street, you can see those flyers on the doors. It makes people go pick them up instead of littering the neighborhood. But here's the other thing. Even if you weren't going to do that, 40 doors answer 10% of those doors. If you run the right scripts and you also ask for a who do you know that I should know, 10% of those might be a good lead. Well, that means 200 doors. I've only got 4 really good leads, really good leads, really good leads. Huh? So you get cardio and 4 great leads. Now, if you did that once a week, that's 16 leads a month. That's your entire business.
Absolutely, because you don't know if you're going to end up having a great conversation with one of those sellers, like he's saying, is you can follow up with, like, it was so great to meet you, with a cute little note, and start a conversation with them, get them in your database. So the other idea is that your database is also a mailing database, even if you don't have their phone numbers and those kinds of things.
I love it.
The idea is that you still get them knowing who you are, and they'll be like, yeah, I remember her. She walked the neighborhood, and now she's been sending me stuff. If I list my home, it's going with her.
I love it. Well, and Christine, do you ever use like a title reps to give you a list of all the addresses in a given neighborhood, right? Like I've done that, and they'll pop that on a CSV file, no problem. You can just do that, create a bunch of labels that you can print, right? If you don't know how to do that, ask ChatGPT, it'll take you 10 seconds to figure it out, right? So now you go blast some labels, you print a thing, you send it out to everyone. Hey, I'm coming through the neighborhood. We're looking for, we proactively look for buyers for houses in neighborhoods. Exactly. And listen, if I'm thinking about listing my house and Christine knocks on my door, which, by the way, I always love to tell the story. We just moved back to the States. Lexi and I live in New Mexico now. We used to live in Arizona. We lived in this beautiful neighborhood, no gate. Anyone could have walked through, anyone could have knocked. I had 2 people knock. One was selling vacuums, the other was selling Jesus. And guess what? There was no third. There was no real estate agent selling a property in the house who came and knocked on the door to our house. Ever. Beautiful neighborhood. It was right there. And if anyone had, I would have been like, dang, dude, you're rocking it. I would have at least tried to recruit that agent because they're hustling.
Right. Yeah. As long as they're not trying to send me solar panels and, or Jesus, or Anderson windows or something like that. Yeah. I'm opening the door and I'm saying hello and seeing what's going on. So
there's probably like 20 people on this call who sold like Kirby vacuums. I hear that one all the time. Everyone's like, I sold Kirby's for a while. I'm like, yeah, well, everyone's got to get that. Listen, I've done my weird stuff that I've gone out and sold too. You cut your teeth in sales, learning how to sell stuff. It's good, right? Here's the thing that I believe. If you do door-to-door sales correctly, it can actually be amazing. And here's the thing. There is a do not call list if you're cold calling. There is not a do not knock list. Right? Like you can be polite and it says no solicitation. Okay, fine. Like acknowledge that. That's fine. But it's not against the law to knock on doors and just say, hi, we're having an open house. I just wanted to invite you. And people can be like, I said no solicitation. You'd be like, great. I won't solicit you, but you're invited. Have a good day. It's so silly. And we restrict ourselves. But just be friendly with people, right? And I think that's part of it. Christine, this is incredible content today. And I've got to say, for anybody who doesn't know how to get a hold of Christine, again, go like the Broker Duo team, reach out today, learn a little bit more about how to build your business. Christine, what do you think is the next thing that people need to know? So they're thinking about, okay, the first 2 weeks, let's just say they get to the end of that 2 weeks, because I want to at least broach that subject, because I see a lot of properties out there lingering on the market, 90 to 120 days. Like you've got sellers who are crying, they're angry, they're telling you things about your mother, like it's not good. And so what happens if you pass that first 2 weeks? What do you need to be thinking about quickly?
Right. And so based on those 2 weeks, you're going to have known how much activity that you've gotten, whether just private showings, just naturally, open houses with lots of feedback, and then the broker tour. With all of that activity, you should have a very good idea of what is going on in our market, of why the buyer's not here yet.
Yep.
Either why they're not here yet, or is there something about the price or condition that needs to be corrected in order for the home to be more attractive to sell. So you should know right now at that point what needs to happen in order for us to not go another week on market. Or if we do, it's going to be this adjustment or that adjustment. And anytime you do an adjustment that quick, I would follow right back up with another open house or another type of way of sharing it out to the community of agents and buyers. But right now, I personally am, my listings are usually under contract within the first 5 days.
Dang. Okay. So by the way, you guys need to be following Christine then, because if you've got a listing out there that's been live for 100 days, something is wrong. People are like, well, you can't sell a house right away. I'm like, I mean, we just sold our own place and it got a full price or whatever it was offer in like what, 24 hours? It wasn't full price. Sorry, I misquoted on that. But we got an offer, great one, cash, in 24 hours. So guess what? It can work. You just have to position correctly. And I see it with top agents like Christine who are positioning other people's property, right? Working the retail market. And you can cause this transaction to move along. You can't do that without being purposeful. The days of list it and forget it are not right now. Let's list it and work, man. It's like being a farmer during a drought. It's a hard job, but guess what? It's still rewarding. And what we're doing also right now is there's a burn off, meaning there's a lot of agents leaving the industry. I don't know if you guys have noticed, like bodies by the side of the road, but that's all real estate agents. And as you drive past all of that, we're coming into some fresh market. We've been saying this for a while, and I know it takes a minute, but I just got to keep reminding everybody because time passes slowly, unfortunately, when you're waiting for something important. But guess what? It's coming. There's a day coming, and we're going to have cleared off like 30% of all real estate agents, and then we'll come back to 100% of capacity. So hold on, 70% of agents working 100% of deals means almost coming up on 2 to 1. It's like 1.5 to 1 on every agent. So your business should gain 50%. Just because you're alive in the coming market, but not if you don't work. Right.
Right. And it's all about market and seasonality, right? So we all know what the market is here in when you're in Oregon. Everybody in their own state knows what markets shift based on just season stuff that we deal with. Well, we didn't really get a winter, so things have been kind of coming along and picking up, and sellers are raising their hands sooner than later. Usually we wouldn't see them until April or May, and I'm currently working with a lot of sellers that are preparing home for sale for the next week or two or less if possible, if their house is ready. A little bit of rain, no big deal. There's no ice on the ground, nobody's slipping and falling out there. And if you need to sell, and the market's right as far as the values, we have leveled off. Yeah, of course, you have the right conversation with your seller. You have your lender partner involved. You know what's going on with interest rates. We're past the end of the year. We're past the election. We're past a lot of stuff now. And the weather has not shown up in a way. So we're just moving on. We're just moving on at this point. So just take those listings, get them prepared, get a plan of attack. And if you can have time to prepare for that home to go live, that's the sweet spot. It's not get the listing today, put a sign in tomorrow and go live without any action that you've taken in steps to go live.
I love that. Well, okay. So give us an outro here. What's your final thought? What's the number one takeaway that people need to walk away from today with? And it sounds like this, like think in advance, be a prepared person. But like, if you were to summarize everything, what is your summary thought? And we'll go out with that, Christine.
Yeah, I think it's a price is key, but preparation is everything too. And the preparation is knowing your market and knowing your seller and having a plan for them. With a plan, you will have success at the end. If you just plan on, I got a call today, and you take some paperwork and you put a sign in the yard tomorrow, and then you're going to start thinking about what you're doing. I think that's going to set you up not necessarily for success. So it's planned for the success.
I love it. Well, thanks so much. All right, everyone.
Okay.
See you next week. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Okay.